Pattaya, Thailand. I did not begin with a theory. I began with conversations. They happened naturally over morning coffee in Pattaya, sunset drinks in Phuket, and quiet lunches in Chiang Mai. Different cities, different accents, different lives. Yet the same question kept coming to mind. Are you worried about Trump? The answers rarely came with passion. More often, they came with a shrug. Sometimes a smile. Occasionally a laugh. It was not that expats had no opinion. It was that, for many of them, American politics no longer felt central to their lives. At first, this seemed puzzling. In a world increasingly shaped by US tariffs, military spending, energy politics and financial power, how could Trump feel irrelevant? But as the conversations unfolded, a clearer picture emerged. This was not indifference. It was recalibration. Pattaya, where politics fades and cash flow sharpens. In Pattaya, many expats live between semi-retirement and quiet enterprise. They advise, consult, invest, or simply manage capital carefully. Their conversations revolve around exchange rates, banking friction, property yields and lifestyle costs. When Trump came up, the reaction was pragmatic rather than emotional. Washington, they explained, feels distant. What matters is whether money can still move smoothly, whether banks tighten compliance, whether the baht swings violently, and whether Thailand remains stable. Politics, in this setting, becomes noise. Cash flow is real. A tariff headline matters only when it shows up in prices, currencies, or regulations. Phuket, the confidence of those who have seen this before. In Phuket, the tone shifts slightly. Expats here tend to be more internationally mobile, more exposed to cross-border trade and global markets. Trump, to them, is familiar territory. They remember the first trade war. They remember the rhetoric. They remember the volatility and the fact that life went on. This familiarity breeds confidence, but also complacency. There is a quiet belief that if conditions deteriorate, relocation remains an option. Another jurisdiction, another visa, another plan. What is often missed is that this time, the shifts are structural. Tariffs are no longer tactical bargaining tools. They are instruments to reshape supply chains, rebuild domestic industry, secure energy, and lock down critical minerals. When great powers reorganize the system, mobility does not always provide escape. Chiang Mai, legality over ideology. Chiang Mai tells a different story. Here, expats are less interested in precedents and more concerned with paperwork. Digital workers, creatives, long-term residents, they measure risk in legal terms. Their questions are quiet but pointed. Will visa rules tighten? Will tax enforcement expand? Will foreigners become politically sensitive during economic stress? For this group, geopolitics becomes personal only when it reaches immigration desks, revenue departments, or banking regulations. Trump, again, is not ignored. He simply does not matter until policy translates into law. A shared perspective. Outcomes over rhetoric. Across Pattaya, Phuket and Chiang Mai, a common pattern emerges. Expats do not follow politics the way citizens do. They follow consequences. They watch currencies more closely than speeches. They worry about capital controls more than campaign slogans. They think about physical assets, property, gold, real value, not ideological battles. Trump, in this sense, is not the story. He is a signal that geopolitics is no longer abstract. That trade policy funds military reindustrialization. That critical minerals and semiconductors have become strategic weapons. That even precious metals are no longer just financial instruments, but scarce physical resources. What unsettles
me, after these conversations, is not what expats fear but what many assume. There is a belief that politics moves slower than individuals. That one can always relocate before consequences arrive. That neutrality is permanent. History suggests otherwise. When global power reorganizes itself, the effects arrive unevenly but relentlessly. No country remains untouched. No foreign resident remains invisible. Expats in Thailand are not disengaged from the world. They are post-political. They no longer ask who governs Washington. They ask whether the system they rely on will remain predictable. Trump is not ignored. He is simply no longer the main character in the daily lives. But geopolitics has a habit of entering quietly through bank rules, visa stamps, tax codes, and prices at the checkout counter. And when it does, distance offers little protection.